Welcome students to the chapter 7 Control and Coordination. Today I will be teaching you about animal hormones. Hormones are the chemical messengers. They are secreted in a very small amount by the endocrine glands. They travel all over the body via the blood and produce effect on distant organs. So endocrine glands are those glands who do not have a duct of their own, but they uses the blood vessels. They will pour their chemicals inside the blood vessels. So the word endocrine implies to the internal secretion put directly into the blood, and therefore such endocrine glands are also called as ductless gland. This is an example of the pancreas. It is releasing hormones insulin and glucagon directly into the bloodstream. Hormones are required in a very small concentration. They are synthesized and stored in the gland. They produce their effects at the target organs, and those organs are situated away from the gland. Hormones are broadly divided as peptides, steroids, amines, and derivative of amines. We'll be learning more in the form of the simple names. You should be knowing anterior pituitary hormones, insulin, glucagon, adrenocortical and gonadal hormones, adrenaline and noradrenaline, and thyroxine. So students, we will be learning about the endocrine gland, and in the endocrine gland, we will be learning about the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is a connecting link between the nervous system and the endocrine gland. We got a pineal gland, which is found on the inside of the brain, then the pituitary gland. We have a thyroid gland, and on both the sides of the thyroid gland is a parathyroid gland, which is located in the neck part. Then in the center of the lungs, near the heart, is a thymus gland. Then this is a pancreas. Then above the kidney, this part is an adrenal gland. Then if it is a female, the ovaries are there, and the males, the testes are there. What do these different endocrine gland do? Which type of hormones do they secrete? The pituitary is divided into three parts: the anterior pituitary, the intermediate pituitary, and the posterior pituitary. Each of this part releases hormones that is a stimulating hormone, except the growth hormone that is not a stimulating, it directly. I'll explain you the difference between a stimulating hormone and a simple name of a hormone. So what does which hormone is directly released by the pituitary? It is a growth hormone. Another is prolactin. It releases TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. So pituitary gland, that is the anterior pituitary gland, will release a thyroid stimulating hormone. This hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone, will reach to the thyroid gland, and the thyroid will then release a hormone that is called as thyroxine. So there is a difference in between the thyroid stimulating hormone. It is a different hormone, and that is a thyroxine that is being released by the thyroid. So how does the thyroxine hormone is released? It is released when the thyroid stimulating hormone stimulates the thyroid, and then thyroxine is released. We also have a releasing factor from the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus will release releasing factor, and that releasing factor will then stimulate the pituitary hormone to release a thyroid stimulating hormone. Okay, we will be learning that in next slide. So the anterior pituitary gland will release a growth hormone. This is a question that has been asked many times in the exam. It releases thyroid stimulating hormone, prolactin, adrenocorticotropic hormone, Gonadotropic hormones, which includes the follicle stimulating hormone and the luteinizing hormone. The pituitary intermediate releases melanocyte stimulating hormone, which in turn helps to in the skin to release melanin. Melanin is responsible for the skin darkness or lightness. The posterior pituitary gland releases oxytocin and vasopressin. It is antidiuretic, means it helps to retain water in your body. The thyroid gland will release different hormones, the thyroxine, the calcitonin. Okay, so these are the two. T3 is not there in your course, so you'll have to learn thyroxine and calcitonin. The parathyroid hormone, which is found on both the side of the thyroid gland, releases parathormone. The adrenal gland is further divided in two parts. The middle part of the gland is called as medulla and the outer part is called as cortex. The cortex part releases many different types of steroids. There are glucocorticoids, there are mineralocorticoids, and there are sex steroids. And the medulla part of the adrenal secretes adrenaline and noradrenaline, that is called as a fear, flight, or stress hormone. The pancreas releases insulin and glucagon. They are both responsible to maintain the sugar level in your body. And the testes, they release testosterone. The ovaries, they release progesterone and estrogen. The hypothalamus is a part of CNS and it is not a gland, but it is a connecting link between the nervous system and the hormones, that is endocrine gland. It produces releasing an inhibitory hormone. Remember, what does hypothalamus produce? Releasing hormones and inhibitory hormone. Releasing hormones means releasing hormone, then because of the releasing, it releases releasing hormone, it will stimulate the pituitary to release the stimulating hormone, and that stimulating hormone will go and stimulate the gland to release a particular hormone. And if that particular hormone is more in your bloodstream, then the hypothalamus will release inhibitory hormone to bring back the level of the hormone down if it is increased in the blood level. So in turn, the hypothalamus produces releasing hormone and inhibitory hormone. So the secretion of the hormones by endocrine gland is controlled by the pituitary gland, and therefore the pituitary gland is called as a master gland. So what is the master gland of your body? The pituitary gland. The anterior pituitary hormones follows the stimulation of the gland by the releasing factor produced by the hypothalamus. So when will the anterior pituitary gland release a stimulating hormone? When will it release a stimulating hormone? Only when it has been stimulated by the R factor, that is a releasing factor by the hypothalamus. So hypothalamus has to release a releasing factor to the anterior pituitary, and therefore the anterior pituitary will be stimulated to release a stimulating hormone. So there are two hormones. One is a releasing factor hormone and another is a stimulating factor hormone. The stimulating factor hormone will go and stimulate the gland, particular gland, and release the hormone. The hormone 3 is the hormone that is flows in the blood to control various activities of your body. So when the whole of this system works on the negative feedback mechanism, how? Whenever there is a low level of hormone in the blood, the hypothalamus produces a releasing factor. So low level is there of particular hormone, it will release. A hormone is low in your blood. So that hormone is low, it will release a releasing factor in your blood. And that will stimulate the anterior pituitary. This anterior pituitary, where it releases the stimulating hormone, it will target the gland to release hormone. Now the particular hormone has increased in your blood levels. Then what will happen? This in turn will inhibit the secretion of releasing hormone. The releasing hormone will be inhibited. And that is how what will happen, the whole sequence will not allow the stimulate to release the hormone. The gland will not be stimulated further to release the hormone. One example is that of the glucose level in the body, the blood glucose level, and the insulin secretion is a very good example. If there is increase in the blood sugar level, what will happen? It will stimulate insulin to be secreted more. And therefore, the blood glucose will be brought down within the limits. This is how it works. The hypothalamus will release a releasing hormone. That is a hormone number 1. When it releases a releasing hormone, the anterior pituitary will be stimulated to produce a stimulating hormone. That is hormone number 2. And this in turn will go to the target gland. If it is a thyroid gland, then it will go to the, it will release a releasing thyroid hormone, stimulating hormone. Then this will release only a stimulating hormone, and this will release a hormone that is thyroxine. Sorry. Now this will release. If this amount of thyroxine is more in the blood, what happens? If its levels increases, it will give a feedback to the hypothalamus to inhibit the release of the releasing hormone. And in turn, it also will give a feedback to the pituitary to inhibit the release of the stimulating hormone. This is an example of various hormones being released. Just take an example that thyroid gland releases a thyroid hormone that is called as thyroxine. The testes release testosterone, the ovaries release estrogen and progesterone. But in order that all these organs release the hormone, they are being stimulated by a hormone that is being secreted by the anterior pituitary. And you can see the change in name over there. They are stimulating hormones, thyroxine stimulating hormone. It will stimulate this. Then adrenocorticotropic hormone. Then the FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, the luteinizing hormone. Okay, so this is how the hormones are released in our bloodstream to regulate various activities. These are the short forms: GRH, growth hormone releasing hormone. Then it is thyrotropic releasing hormone, corticotropic releasing hormone. Who does this release? This it is being released by the hypothalamus. Okay, the prolactin inhibiting hormone, the prolactin releasing hormone. Who will release this? Again, hypothalamus. Okay, then the word TSH, thyrotropic stimulating hormone. Who will release this? Thyrotropic stimulating hormone is being released by the pituitary, anterior pituitary gland. Okay, I hope by seeing also this, you can locate which gland is releasing which hormone. Okay, now the anterior pituitary gland releases growth hormone directly. We are not going for the stimulating hormone. I think they are going to release directly into the blood, the growth hormone. If this anterior pituitary growth hormone is more in level in the blood, it leads to gigantism. So the growth hormone should be very particular. They are in the required amount only. And the hypersecretion means more secretion of growth hormone will lead to gigantism, and hyposecretion means less amount of secretion of growth hormone will cause dwarfism. Another, sir, hypersecretion is caused in adults. It's till the puberty, the growth is okay. But the growth hormone is released more, that is hypersecretion more, once the person becomes an adult. And you can see only the bones of the face, facial bones, and the limbs bone continue to grow. The other bones are sealed. We can say it freezed. They are not going to grow. So here the female is okay till the puberty, but thereafter you can see at the age of 30 and 52, she has continued growing her bones of the face and bones of the limbs. It is called as acromegaly. Goiter is caused because of the swelling of the thyroid gland. At which part? At the neck part. So this is hypothyroidism and this is hyperthyroidism. It is strength here. And this is a normal thyroid. Hypothyroidism occurs because the amount of thyroxine that is secreted in the blood, that is in the blood, is low. It will cause symptoms such as overweight. The person's weight increases a lot. It will gain weight. The metabolism has slowed down. The person will get tired. Hyperthyroidism means the amount of thyroxine level has increased in the blood. This leads to person becoming thin. He has lost the weight, and there is more metabolism in the body that causes loss of weight. So in turn, we can say that thyroxine regulates the carbohydrate, protein, and fat metabolism of the body. Hypothyroidism, the metabolism is slowed down. Hyperthyroidism, the metabolism has been increased. So there's change in metabolism. And which type of metabolism? It is regulating all the body activities, minerals that are required, all the carbohydrates, proteins, and fat metabolism of the body, so that the growth of the organisms is balanced. In order that the thyroxine is released in a proper amount, there should be proper amount of iodine in your body. Therefore, the government has regulated the sale of iodized salt. If the deficiency of iodine is there, it may lead to a disease that is called as goiter. This is an adrenal gland found above the kidney. This both the kidneys. Right? So this is like, if we see the section of it, that's called as a cortex, and the middle part is called as a medulla. And the cortex part releases hormones such as the aldosterone, cortisol, and androgen hormones, and the medulla part releases adrenaline and noradrenaline. These adrenaline and noradrenaline are called as a flight or fight or stress hormones. It is called as adrenaline. Come down on when you want to parachute down, so fall down from the parachute. The rush is called as adrenaline rush. Okay, if you have not done this yet, you may have an adrenaline rush when a dog is running behind you and you're running. So at that time, the adrenaline is released in your bodies to reduce the stress that has occurred to you. So how does it occur? So when the person is afraid or stressed out, the adrenaline is secreted in your body. Because of that, the heart rate increases because it needs to give more oxygen to your muscles, which are in a flight mode. Because of that, the breathing rate will also increases. That is regular contraction of your diaphragm and rib muscles will take place. There is also increase in your blood pressure, and this blood pressure will make more glucose to enter into your blood. So more glucose, more energy. So these all situations occur so that your body can deal with the emergency situation. And all these reasons, because it is supplying more oxygen to your muscles, there will be reduced in supply of oxygen to your skin and digestive system, so that the muscles can get more oxygen. So this is how the adrenaline works, so that the person's stress situations can be lowered down. The pancreas releases insulin and glucagon. It helps to maintain the sugar levels of your body. When the body does not convert enough glucose, the blood sugar level remains high. Insulin will help to absorb the glucose and bring it back to the normal level. When the blood sugar level is very low, the pancreas will release glucagon. So when the blood sugar is high, what will happen? What will be released? Insulin. But when the blood sugar level is low, then glucagon will be released. This glucagon will instruct the liver where the glucose is stored. Glucose is stored in the liver in the form of glycogen. So the glucagon will instruct the liver to convert the glycogen that is stored over here to be converted into glucose so that the glucose level is increased. Remember, in the chapter 6, in the nutrition section, there's a line. You'll have to by heart that line. You have to learn that line, that in the animals, the glucose is stored in the form of glycogen, and in the plants, the glucose is stored in the form of starch. It is a one-liner, and you will have to remember that in plants, the glucose is stored in the form of starch, and in animals, the glucose is stored in the form of glycogen. So if what happens in the glucose level is low in your body, the glycogen that is stored in the liver is instructed by the hormones that is released from the liver. Which hormone? Glucagon. And it will convert the glycogen into glucose, and therefore that is how the glucose level will become normal in the body. This is a pancreas. It is called as an endocrine gland also, and it is an exocrine gland also. Endocrine gland because it is releasing the insulin and the glucagon directly into the bloodstream. You can see here the blue color, it is being released. It does not have a duct of its own, therefore endocrine gland. And since it has got a duct, it is releasing pancreatic juice with a duct. You can see the duct entering inside the small intestine. Okay, it is joining the duct that is coming from the liver. Yes, from the liver, the pancreas, they were joining together over here, and then it is releasing the pancreatic juice here. Therefore, it is also called as which gland? It is called as exocrine gland also, and an endocrine gland also. You all know that diabetes is a condition when the blood glucose level is increased in the human being. There are different types of diabetes. We are not going to study more about that, but we should know only this much, that a person who has got diabetes has got more sugar level. That means the insulin in the body by the liver is not being released. There are many conditions to it, but why it is not being released? Accordingly to what the doctor suggests, the person can get the consultations done with the doctor to take which type of medicines. One such thing is the insulin injection, but it has to be taken only under the advices of the doctor. So there are insulins which is being injected by the person. So the blood glucose level can be brought back to the normal. There are medicines that can be eaten also, but it has to be taken under the direct advice of the medical professionals. Another example is that of follicle stimulating hormones. Remember, it is a stimulating hormone. So who will release that? It will be released by the anterior pituitary gland. It is follicle stimulating hormone. That is why I'm telling it is because released by the anterior pituitary gland. So the hypothalamus will release a releasing follicle releasing stimulating hormone to the anterior pituitary, and the anterior pituitary meanwhile will release either testosterone or estrogen or progesterone accordingly. These are the various glands and which hormones they are secreting and their locations and their functions. Hypothalamus, they secrete many hormones located below the midbrain. It controls the pituitary glands and also secretions of other glands. The pituitary glands secrete many hormones. One is a growth hormone and also many stimulating hormone. One such example is thyroid stimulating hormone, follicle stimulating hormone. The location is below the hypothalamus. The thyroid gland releases thyroxine, and for that iodine is very much necessary in our body. So the thyroxine is released in proper amount. It is found around the windpipe in the neck. The parathyroid gland is found around the thyroid gland. It releases parathormone. It regulates the level of calcium and phosphate in the body. Remember, calcium and phosphates in the body are being regulated by the parathyroid gland. The next is a thymus gland. The thymus gland is located in the upper part of the chest between the lungs near the heart position, and it plays a very important role in the immune system of your body. Okay, and these are the various hormones. I think now if I say, it will be very better to you. This is a which gland? Pituitary gland. Here it is shown the anterior pituitary and the posterior pituitary. Anterior pituitary will release which type of hormone? Adrenocorticotropic hormone to the kidney, which one? Adrenal gland, not the kidney, which is found above the kidney. And that adrenal gland will release various other hormones. Then melanocyte stimulating hormone, melanin, thyroid stimulating hormone. It will release thyroxine, then oxytocin. Oxytocin is very much important during the labor of a female. When the female is in labor, it is during a childbirth, we say. And oxytocin will also help the mammary glands so that the milking period of the female can be done. Thank you so much.